And I would tell people that I've been here for Velux for 22 years because I'm the type of person that I am who I am. I'm open, I'm honest. I want to work just as hard for the guy that buys the least amount of skylights as the guy that buys the most amount of skylights. And I like to tell people I sleep at night. Mm-hmm. And in order for me to do that, things happen. And as long I try to be fair, open, and honest. And Velux allows me to do that. So I've been here for 22 years.
Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Truth Podcast. Today, special guest Barry with Velux Skylights. So if you guys follow our podcast any, I try to bring in some businesses that we do business with, but also just some of our vendors and products that we install as a company. So I'm going to let Barry introduce himself and we'll kick it off.
Thanks, Bob. Yes, Barry Wagner, Velux Skylights. I've been a territory sales rep for Velux for 22 years.
So that's one reason that I appreciate. It's why we choose Velux. I mean, honestly, I feel like you guys kind of dominate the market. But as an owner, like Barry, you're great at responding to our guys and helping us get to the finished product, and that's huge in our world. So I guess talk a little bit about your journey with Velux. Like, how did it happen? Kind of what you've learned and, why you have invested 20 plus years of your life with one company.
Okay, great. So talking earlier, I worked for a window and trim supplier. We sold to builders and remodelers. And it was a situation where, to be honest, I'm not a fan of service work. And we sold a particular window and back in the 80s, 90s, there was different stories, but wood windows were the predominant one and wood windows were failing. And so I'm looking at my life saying, oh my goodness, I've sold a lot of wood windows. There's a lot of service in my territory. And then I looked at, there was an opening for Velux. We sold Velux. And I said, I've never had a service issue for Velux. That would be perfect for me. So I met with a rep who was getting promoted. We talked, and I thought it'd be a perfect for me. And I would tell people that I've been here for Velux for 22 years because I'm the type of person that I am who I am. I'm open, I'm honest. I want to work just as hard for the guy that buys the least amount of skylights as the guy that buys the most amount of skylights. And I like to tell people I sleep at night. Mm-hmm. And in order for me to do that, things happen. And as long I try to be fair, open, and honest. And Velux allows me to do that. So I've been here for 22 years.
Yeah, because I remember, you guys even sent out on one job I remember we did. You guys came out on it. I think there was a slight issue, but you guys are always great on making sure the customer is taken care of. You're great about coming in here, training our guys, like I said, responding. So, we'll, I guess what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and talk about, you've got a new product out where all your skylights are coming with a blind, but I want to be educational for just a minute here. So you really have two predominant ways that you install a skylight, a deck mount or a curb mount. I'll let you kind of tell it from your angle, and sure. Then we'll go with that.
So here, there's three types, but the two dominant ones are a deck mount. So when you think of a deck mount, you think frame it all, sits down on the deck. And then you think curb mount. Curb mount, think of a shoebox. You guys build the box. I've got the shoebox lid that goes over top of it. And then those are predominantly the two different. New construction is going to lead towards deck mounts, replacements. There are competitor skylight companies out there, so the curb mount leads more towards replacing a competitor's product on the Velux side. And there's a third that I don't really talk about. I call it a pan flash. It's a good product for northern climates. We're up here in the north. It's just not a good product for that. So basically, yes, there's two types. There's the curb mount and the deck mount. And for Velux, which started in April, we've started what we call the Skylight system. And and basically, yes, that is a solar shade in every residential skylight. But not to consume this conversation, before we get into the product or whatever, I always like to say why, right? And there's many whys. And the why that makes most sense to me is that facts. Our summers are hot. Mm-hmm. Facts. Our winters are cold. And I don't see that changing in the next 10 years. So the reality is, what happens 5-10 years from now, our designers and builders, are they going to see that our energy costs continue to rise? And are they going to start pulling out products that they perceive are not energy efficient? So as a skylight company, that's something we have to look at. And if they perceive skylights not to be energy efficient, then we're out the door. So facts, a solar shade that we add on every skylight increases the energy efficiency in the winter by 45%. Fact, that same shade in the summertime increases the energy proficiency by 20%. So Velux, now we are the most energy efficient skylight on the market. So maybe 10 years from now, if it's still hot, still cold, and they start pulling out products, they're not going to pull out our product because we're energy efficient.
So are you guys the first skylight company to initiate putting blinds on everyone?
Not only that, yes,
okay.
But I would kind of argue that I've got a lot of competitors that can't even offer a shade.
Okay.
So yeah, we're the first. I feel like, just like anything else, I joke that, I think we have a fair market share. It's 3 digits, right. But that's fair.
Right. Like I said, I'm not even saying that because you're sitting here. Like, I can't even think of another skylight company just because when I started in this business, I was introduced to you right away. And, the service is there, One question I do have, and this is getting a little technical, but somebody may ask this question. At what point do you put a deck mount compared to a curb mount on?
Great question. Number one, 2 things. One, it depends on the roof pitch.
So how steep the roof is.
Correct, how steep the roof pitch is. If it takes rolled roofing, it must be a curb mount. Curb mounts can go 0 degrees to 60. Deck mounts have to be 14 to 85. I don't make vertical windows, so that's why we're sticking to 85 and not 90.
Okay.
Yes, we can be on a mansard roof. It's not a big deal at all.
Okay.
But that's the main difference is the roof pitch. The second difference is skylights have to be put on a shingled application, a tiled application, or we do also have a metal flashing kit. If it's rolled roofing, it has to be a curb mount.
So rolled roofing, what about EPDM?
Yes, it would have to be a deck mount. I'm sorry, it has to be a curb mount.
Rolled an EPDM
anything.
Is going to be similar to...
So deck mounts have to be, okay, I know there's metal out there. Other than metal, but everything else on a shingled application, it has to be step flashed. That's
correct.
Deck mounts have to be step flashed, and they have to be on a slope. The reason they have to be on a slope is we have a removable cladding,
yep.
And behind the removable cladding are what I call drain channels. And big storm comes in, it's going to get behind the cladding, hits the drain channels, and we send the water we want to send it. If those drain channels are all of a sudden flat now,
yep.
Then we've got water going wherever it wants to go, and we're not going to controlling it.
So what is the difference on your commercial application for skylights?
Okay, great question. And I am on the residential side of Velux.
Okay.
It's been several years since I've played on the commercial side. But I look at it this way. On the residential side, we have stock products that are right now, we are a stocking manufacturer. We are making products right now that we know are going to go to a warehouse until they're ready to be sold. On the commercial side of things, it's sort of like a la carte.
Okay.
What they can do is enormous. On the residential side, we're talking unit skylights. On the commercial side, you can be talking domes. You can be talking large structural systems. Go to a mall. You're going to see what I call barrel bolts. Those are looks like half of a barrel going down And so on the commercial side of things, the possibilities are endless. They can do some really cool stuff, but then that's onesie twosie stuff made on demand, sort of a la carte.
Okay. I just got a really good buddy that's in Memphis, Tennessee, that is a big Velux guy, and I know he's went to commercial training and stuff like that. So
it gets confusing because he'll probably tell you the same as you've experienced. Most people view commercial, residential by the type of home or building it's on. Mm-hmm. And in the skylight world, it's just the opposite. Yes, a residential skylight can go on an office building. Yes, a commercial product can go on a residence.
Correct.
But we definitely define it by, if it's acrylic or a structural system, it's commercial. If it's a unit skylight, then it's residential.
So when it comes to homeowners, what is the warranty? What is the guaranteed from Velux if I'm putting a skylight on my home?
Okay, a good question. One, glass technology is superior today. So we have a 20-year warranty on the glass failure of the failure of the glass. In other words, the glass is not going to fog up. We've got a 20-year warranty to do that. Second of all, we have what I call a leak-proof warranty. We've got a no-leak warranty that covers the installer's labor. So basically, if they have a water leak in the first 10 years, Velux, we feel like we own that skylight. You call us, we'll inspect it. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, we'll do that. And then on the blind, we have a 5-year warranty on the blind. And that blind that we'll demo here in a second, a full charge on that blind is 200 up and downs. So let's say year 5, that blind's only getting half a charge. Well, that's 100 up and downs. So realistically, we're projecting our blinds will last easily 10, 15 years. And the fact is, here in the States, we've had that solar shade out that we incorporate in every skylight now. We've actually been selling those shades for over 10 years now, and very few hiccups we've had with that product. But what I like to point out, and the reason I did joke about our market share, every bit of market share we have, we feel like we've earned. Mm-hmm. And the reason Velux, we felt like we've earned that is because we're the only skylight company that our warranty is repair or replace. That's our warranty. Majority of my competitors, they use the words prorate.
Yep.
Prorate. How do you repair and replace with prorate? Oh, no, you're just going to pay me back the money I paid for your product.
Right.
So I feel like in Velux, I don't have a service tech in Indiana or Kentucky, which is my territory. But that being said, everyone has hiccups. But the great thing about Velux is if we do have a warranty issue, we're Johnny on the spot. Yes, there have been warranty issues, but I find it hard pressed for anyone to know about them because, boom, we'll jump on it. If it's a Velux issue, we take care of it. If it's not a Velux issue, we walk the installer through what needs to be done to make, because part of our warranty is threefold. I have to make sure that the dealer continues to be solid to sell my product. Mm-hmm. I have to be assured that if your company would have a problem with our products, that we take care of it so you'll keep selling. And of course, number one is we want the homeowner to be satisfied.
Right. Yeah, because a quick story on ours, I remember we replaced some skylights and we couldn't get the homeowner convinced to replace the entire roof, even though the existing shingles were rough. And you guys ended up coming out there, and at the end of it, you handed the homeowner your business card and said, if you have any problem with these skylights, call us. That meant a lot to me that I've got a manufacturer that does that, because you're right. Like, there is a lot of prorating stuff, or hey, I'm not gonna handle this, and it's easy for us to walk in and sell a Velux product because we know the backing that we're getting. So what we will go ahead and do is, you wanted to talk a little bit about the new shade, so yes. I'm gonna let you kind of start with that.
I'll start with this. And then if you will, while I talk about it, there's the remote that comes with it. So basically, what I'm showing you here is for the curb mount. So like we talked about that shoebox. So this, even though it's separate, it comes pre-installed. And then from the outside, there's the solar panel here. And so basically for the curb mount, this comes pre-assembled. This would sit down on that deck, and then the curb mount would go on top of it. And that solar panel charges a small little battery, and then basically it's got 200 up and downs. So go ahead and run it down. This is sitting right next to the microphone, so it's not loud at all. And then, so that's the outside. The inside, this would be what the homeowner sees. And it's double pleated. It's white. Most ceilings are white. We feel like this is the safest variety. It's double pleated. It's going to block out the heat from the sun, and it's going to block out it's going to not block out. It's going to help maintain the heat in the room in the wintertime.
So what you guys couldn't see, maybe you could, is I messed with these buttons and I couldn't get the stupid thing to go down. Oh. It was the way, then you're finally like, push it down. And then when I hit it that time, it actually went. I was like, great, this stupid thing's not going to work.
I wonder what was going on. I mean, there's a delay.
I was sitting there messing with this darn thing. So,
and to be fair to Bob, it doesn't say up or down. There's just an arrow that points up, and there's an arrow that points down.
Well, I originally,
and should you flip it around?
Yeah, I originally had it like that. Yeah. So I was just like, I'm over here, trying to, keep calm and cool and collect.
When I introduce it to homeowners, the first thing I say is, when you pick up the remote, make sure you can read Velux.
Yeah.
And that way I do it all the time. And another thing too is, what is up and what's down.
Right.
So it's funny. But the great thing about that too is you can use your smartphone to interact with it as well.
Okay. So you can open and close it off your smartphone?
Off your smartphone, and you can and there's a little ball, and you can slide it to the open position or the closed position. And so, all right. So what I do, I know you didn't ask, but what I do a lot of, I call home consultations. And that's where I go out with your sales reps, meet with homeowners, and see. I like to do that because I like to see where the market is. I like to see what old skylights are being replaced. But the first thing I do in front of your rep is I ask the homeowner if you like your skylights. Of course, I want that homeowner to say, "Oh, I love my skylights. I couldn't imagine another home without them." I want your rep to hear that.
Right.
The real reason I do that is because if they give me back a negative in front of your sales rep, I want to be able to respond to that negative and hopefully win the homeowner back over. And then your reps see, oh, wow, how easy that is. So in the future, when they're out doing a job without me, they can easily respond to the negative. There's probably 3 main negatives I've ever gotten in the 22 years. And one of the big 3 is, man, my skylights, they're just so bright. This is our favorite room, but it's just miserable to be in the summertime. They're just so bright. Boom. That shade is 100% light control. Everyone carries your smartphone every day, right? Boom. Control the light coming through every single day. There's timers, whatever you want to do, you can do it. The second popular is, man, this room is so hot in the summertime. It is so cold in the wintertime. It's drafty. Boom. 45% more energy efficient in the wintertime, 20% more efficient in the summertime. It's not going to be hot. It's not going to be drafty. Totally controlled by your smartphone.
So, what's the pros that, when people say they love their skylights, and my production team's going to kill me if I sell people and having us just put in a skylight where there wasn't the current skylight, because that's a lot more work on our end. But I guess, what are some of the pros that you hear,
So it kind of, what's a great question. It's kind of funny. So, long story short, my wife and I just had a short, mini, long weekend, if you will, in Colorado. And we did a VRBO. And she got there a couple of days before me. And my comment was, they're always clean. They're always nice. And her comment was, man, it's really clean. It's really nice. But man, it's dark. It's just so dark here. And that's and it's hard to imagine dark, but we all have dark spaces. And that's the number one skylights provide: daylight, free daylight. You cut in a skylight, and you're all of a sudden, it's slope glazing. it brings in twice as much light as a vertical window does. You're automatically bringing in daylight in that space. And then a caveat that we kind of don't do in our territory is if you had a skylight that opens, then you can control how much you use your air conditioning, because in the spring and fall, hot air rises. You could actually open your skylight in the spring and the fall, and you're not running air conditioning when it's 80 degrees during the day, because in the evening for 20 minutes, hot air is going right out that skylight.
Right.
So those are the two main solid reasons why skylights.
So just to be clear, moving forward, all the skylights that you guys are manufacturing will have a blind, and then so for ease of customers, ease of handoff from whole roofing to the customer, them remotes are already programmed to run on that.
Great question. Yes, going forward, every residential Velux skylight sold today is the Skylight system. Yes, in the factory, the shades are installed at the factory, and the shades run through what I call a calibration at the factory. So they go down and up, and they're completely paired with the remote. In fact, I like to show you here on the back of this remote. On the skylight itself, there used to be a silver tag. Now it's a sticker. And the sticker on the skylight itself is the warranty on the skylight. It's got all the information we need to know what size it is, the age of it, and the glass. Now that same thing is on the back of the remote. And then there's a QR code there that we want the homeowner, they can use that QR code to register their skylight for their warranty. But yes, so everyone's going to have it. And for you as the installer, the blinds come prepared. They're already set up, and they're right on the remote itself is into the packaging that protects the skylight, protects the shade. All they have to do is remove that packaging and then keep the remote safe, hand it to the homeowner, and they install it like they would a regular skylight.
Okay.
On the curb mount, a little bit different, one extra step. They got to put the tray on, but in a deck mount, they're not going to notice the difference between installing a skylight without a shade or installing one with a shade, because they're not going to deal with the shade once they've taken the packaging off.
And there is no way to, like, let's say I have 3 skylights in my house. They'd have 3 separate remotes.
Great question. They would have 3 separate remotes, but understand that on the side of the remote, okay, there's a gear and a couple I call rectangles. And then, yes, they would have 3 skylights. You have 3 remotes. They would each control each one, but it's just pushing one button on one remote and the other button on the other one, and you can transfer them to one remote.
Okay.
To run them both.
Nice.
And again, we have the app that's available that they can control individually or all at once as well.
Awesome. I'm just trying to think of different.
But there is this remote is limited though, and I challenge you to hit that limit. It's limited to 100 shades, so I challenge you to get 101 shades.
Man, that would be a.
That'd be a good challenge.
That might be an install nightmare. We'll call a spade a spade. Like 101 shades on the same house. Like, holy cow!
There'd be no. I know there'd be no room for shingles.
There would be no room for shingles, but there would. They'd have to take out a mortgage to put all the skylights in. Oh shoot! I don't know. My sales guys are pretty competitive. Maybe if I challenge them to see.
I'm throwing a trip to Florida. How about that?
Well, it may not go for 100. We may say who can sell the most skylights on one house in the next 6 months or something like that. So, but no. What other features with Velux? Kind of anything that maybe we haven't touched.
Okay. One, I always like to point out that when it comes to Velux, and skylights are obviously a different category than windows, but when it comes to Velux, we're very proud of the fact that we don't offer a good, better, best. A lot of manufacturers do. They offer a low end, they offer a high end. Velux, we don't. We only offer the high end. So currently, we're using the best glass that's on the market today. We have And basically we have, we talked about, we have fixed skylights, we have operating skylights, both manual and solar operating as well. But the main thing about Velux is I say that we're your one stop, and that is, we've got deck mounts, curb mounts. We didn't talk about, we have tubular products. And tubular products are great for interior hall spaces, interior bathrooms, closets, small rooms that don't have access to windows. And it's a tubular product, can drop light down 20 feet. So those, and then like I said, and it's not really an accessory happy category for us. We offer the best. There's not really a category. It's one of these things, the tubular one I talk about, people say, oh, you got to have different, so it has, the tubular skylight has, we call it a sun tunnel. It's got a frosted interior lens. When we first came out with that, that's all we had. Oh, you got to have options for lenses. Okay, we came out with options. Guess how many times I sell that option? I don't, right? So in a skylight category, unfortunately, there's other categories. Yes, there's room for crazy stuff, Bluetooth connectivity, right. But we're not there yet. Our smartphone app, though, is a great option on the solar skylight that opens or the solar shades. So pretty much that's it. And know that we have a skylight for every option. If we were out in California and we needed a skylight that can meet code, or Miami-Dade, Florida that needs code, we've got those products that meet those codes. It's just where we're at. Most of those skylights are going to be overkill for our area because we really don't need any of that specialty stuff.
So what is where are they manufactured at?
Oh, great question. Majority of our residential skylights are manufactured in Greenwood, South Carolina.
Okay.
So I work for Velux America. We do have a couple products. We do have a couple items that we still are made overseas, but majority of what we sell here in the States are made in Greenwood, South Carolina. And what makes Velux the best is that we have distribution centers throughout the United States. So yes, they're made in Greenwood, South Carolina, but again, we're a stocking manufacturer. So we're making products so we can stock our warehouses. And so wherever you are in the United States, if you're doing a job, you can get a skylight in a couple days.
So what is Velux? Was it started in a different country?
Oh, great question. Yeah, Denmark. So that's our that's our corporate headquarters still there. That's where our start was, in Denmark. And that was the first, they didn't invent the first skylight, but they invented what we call the first roof window.
Okay.
In Europe, they live in their roofs. They live in their attics. So they've got to us, we'd call it a window, but no, it's in the roof. So it's a roof window. Okay. Here in the United States, when we came here in the 70s, 73 is when we built Greenwood, South Carolina, the manufacturing facility. We came here first with obviously the roof window, but dude, we've got big ranches, we got tall ceilings. Roof windows just wasn't what was needed here. Yep. So especially in the Midwest, East Coast, different story. And that's where Greenwood, we developed the skylight that we have today.
Awesome. Is there anything else that we didn't hit that you just want to share with the audience? Any frequently asked questions, anything like that? Yeah. Kind of like when I talk, I like to get your perspective. Yep.
If
absolutely.
I can. In coming out with a skylight system, started in April, all I've been focused on trainings and getting people up to speed and the benefits and features and all that. An interesting question came up to me from a sales manager. I like your point because you're an owner. You've got a sales team. And he came up to me and he says, man, I love this idea. You're going to force my guys to sell. So I was curious to see, I thought that was an interesting take. What's your take on that?
So my take on that is our entire sales process, our goal is to educate the homeowner. I don't want to push the sales guy in. We've got a couple of team members of ours that have invited our competition into their house with their spouse to see what their process, what their system looks like, and just to see like what they go over, how we can make ours better, and like I said, my main goal is just to go over everything. And me and my sales manager, Chris, literally were having this meeting an hour and a half ago, and we're just talking about kind of refining our process of like making sure we're going over everything and just bringing it to their attention. I don't want to be the company that tries to oversell every single customer. However, we had a customer the other day that said they didn't know we did gutters. And on every one of my company vehicles, it says roofing, siding, and gutters on it. And that customer was relieved because he had called some gutter companies that hadn't responded. And he was so pleased with how quick we put the roof on and all that process. He was so happy to find out that we'd come back and do his gutters. Yeah. So I guess it's more for me is just educating our homeowners, and hence that's why we have a podcast and we bring guests like you in. Like, let's talk about some of the products we're using and why we choose to partner with them, because there'll be somebody that will watch this podcast and be like, man, I've struggled with not a Velux. I've struggled with the Skylight we have. And, we had this conversation before we started. If somebody came into our house to sell me and Emily on a Skylight, I would just say, give me the stupid Skylight. I don't really care about the options. And as soon as you said to her, like, oh, hey, would you like a blind? She'd be like, oh, absolutely, because that's what she would think of. So, yeah, for me, to answer your question, is just explain and educate the homeowner on their options. And if they decide they don't want a Skylight, they don't have much choice with the blind now, but I guess they could put a blind in and just leave it open all the time if that's what they chose. So yeah, for me it's very beneficial. It's just educate the homeowner, because another thing is I want our homeowners to feel like that we took our time with them and we explained everything. And when we walk away, like I don't expect them to know how to go install a roof, but I want them to be confident that they understand all the steps of why our bid is this amount and the 18 items that includes, so they understand the steps, the process, our main goal, and I keep saying this, is customer experience. Like, we do a shade. Like, I want to make sure my production team, my sales guy goes in there and smarter than me and knows how to run that remote and make sure the customer is comfortable with it. If that's taking a few extra minutes and helping them download the app, that's the part of the customer experience that I want to make sure we're in this for the long haul. We're in the process of, what are we going on, almost our 9th year in business. So that's kind of crazy to say out loud. Like, I'm not a fly-by-night company. Honestly, I was thinking the other day, there's a couple of contractors that we've outlasted already that I don't even hear about anymore. Right. And just a few years ago, like, that was our main competition out here. And now, so that's the kind of stuff that, I want customers to remember and talk about.
See, and that's the reason I asked that question. It kind of brings up the point why we've had a great partnership, right? Because I agree the same way. There unfortunately in this business there are so many people that they put a number on a wall and they have to, that's how many roofs they have to do before they break even, and they see a service issue, they see a wrinkle in the process, or they see a service issue, and they see that in their heads as a callback, they lose money. And I always, in my trainings, I tell people, dude, a service call is just an opportunity for you to sell again, right? You get back face to face with a customer. Of course you're going to call the manufacturer and we'll get the problem taken care of. But now you're face to face, one-on-one with that customer again that maybe you haven't seen in 4 or 5 years, right? Oh, we talked about your gutters last time. You want to replace your gutters now, just like your gutter you talked about. And to me, it's just opportunities. You don't have to focus on, man, we have to get 100 roofs this year for me to make money. Sell everything you sell, right? And that's how I feel Velux is. And the shade process, I feel like, one, I didn't tell you that we've done our homework. Most homeowners want shades. We've done our homework. We know that. But contractors are some, not many, but some of them are giving me, you're shoving it down. We have to buy. No, there's always a choice. But our point is, dude, it's a perfect way to have a conversation. And we talked about this earlier too, and I'll leave you on this. When I learned early on in sales, when I started out, I learned very quickly not to focus on what I thought the homeowner was willing to spend. Mm-hmm. In other words, I believe that a homeowner is willing to spend for something that they want. And it's my job to focus on what the homeowner wants and sell them what they want. We talked about earlier about upgrade. One guy sold them everything. One guy was afraid to for whatever the reasons are. Never assume what a homeowner is willing to spend. Just know that they're going to spend for what they want, and that's true.
Well, and I remember a customer, this was back when I was doing more of the selling, more of the phone answering, and a customer called and was needing a new roof, and they had wood shake on. And he was like, well, I want a quote for shingles and I want a quote for metal. And I was like, okay, like, what's your future plan of the house? He's like, me and my wife's getting near retirement, 3 to 4 years, we're selling it. And I said, then don't pay me extra to put a metal roof on. A shingle roof will give you ample protection. And, so there I talked myself out of an upsell. And then, unfortunately for them, their freaking house got hit by a tornado a year and a half later. We were the first call they ever made. We put the roof on twice, so, and not to make light of it, fortunately they're okay. Like, that's not a fun, that's not something fun to live through. But, like, I step back and I wonder, like, okay, if I didn't have talked about a cheaper option, like, would they have called us back? Like, I mean, they didn't call anybody else when that tornado hit. Like, they called us. Like, that was their first call, So, I mean, like, we're in a time that people want educated, they don't want sold. And that's why we do a podcast. That's why we have an entire marketing division that focuses on educating homeowners with blogs and videos and stuff like that, just because people want to kind of research and do their own research, before, there's a statistic out there right now that says people are 80% of the way through their buying process before they call you. Oh. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy. Now, my sales guys don't want to admit that they're 80% of the way there to buying.
I'm the best salesman that Velux has ever had.
In Indiana, at least, right?
100% agree. And we all do it, right? I mean, how many times before you buy something, I personally go on YouTube, and I watch a couple of videos, good and bad, or we all look at reviews, right? Good and bad. So I agree 100%. Yep. And the only little caveat I would say is, yes, homeowners are more educated, but sometimes, sometimes they're educated just enough to kind of not understand what it is they think they know, right?
Well, it's funny you say that because, like, everybody wants to go to Google. Yeah. And Google's a beautiful thing. However, I can make a website about Velux Skylight tonight and put half the information that's wrong on there, and somebody could search and find it, because it's always funny when one of my sales guys call me and they're having a problem with something like not work related, like, a plumbing issue or a mechanical issue with their wife's car. And they're like, well, I Googled it and it could be this, this, and this. It's kind of like Googling your symptoms of, throwing up, oh, well, you could have cancer, or, you could have food poisoning. Like, so I always joke with them. I was like, all right, guys, call a professional, please. Like, how hard sometimes it is for us to overcome people. Like, well, I looked at Google and they said that your price should be this, or they said you shouldn't use this. Like ChatGPT, prime example of that. Literally, it's something that I've incorporated using in our business. But I have looked, we use gutter apron and we use drip edge. Drip edge goes on the rakes, gutter apron goes on the eaves where the gutter goes. ChatGPT did something for me the other day, and it put drip edge where the gutter apron should go. And I responded back. I was like, actually, that is wrong. There should be gutter apron there so the water runs into the gutter. And it was funny because ChatGPT responded like, you are correct. We've updated our mistake.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of crazy that we're relying on AI so much. I see the benefit of it, don't get me wrong. But, well, even that's wrong sometimes. So people's got to watch where they get their source at from, I guess.
Well, okay, funny, I'm not going to get into details because I don't know who's going to watch this. But funny conversation I had with a friend. She gave me a quote. And I said, I might want to check your sources on that. And she says, well, I got it from AI. Of course, AI is going to tell me the truth.
Right.
And to your point, AI is learning just like all of us are learning.
Right.
So,
yeah,
sorry.
and I mean, in AI, you know, today compared to in 3 months or 6 months, and I get the whole, it could go too far. Like
Skynet.
I understand that. Unfortunately, you know, because a buddy of mine, he bought a piece of property in Georgia, and it's an area that is heavily wooded. Literally, like there's 8 acres, and on the back side of the property, there's hundreds of houses, right?
Oh.
And he made an offer, and the lady wanted to close real quick. And I said, you better get a few numbers figured out of what it's going to cost to do something. He's like, well, AI said this much. And I was like, I don't know if I trust AI on excavating costs to put in a 1/4 mile long lane.
Yep.
Because if you think it's going to be 50 and it's 150,
Yep.
you know, so, but yeah, I mean, it's trust the source, go to, you know, do your own research, but also, you know, research it and make sure your facts are.
Yep. Facts.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You know, so. But no, I appreciate your time, Barry.
Thank you.
Your support, your partnership means a lot to us. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Right back at you. Thank you.